All right, we're a couple minutes past the hour here, so we'll go ahead and get started. We have a lot of content for you guys today, so we don't want to waste any time here. Thanks again to everybody that's joining us today. I appreciate you guys carving out some time out of your day for this webinar, talking about how to integrate budgeting and forecasting capabilities with your BI application. Excited to be bringing this topic to you guys. This is a topic that's been actually requested of us by some clients as well as some of our colleagues over at IBM. So very excited to bring this presentation to you guys today. I will warn you guys, I'll do my best here to get through a couple of my slides without coughing. I do have a cold here, but in case I'm unable to deliver on that promise, I apologize in advance. But I'll do my best to get through this here for a couple of slides. So to give a bit of background as to what kind of gave us the reason to provide this topic to you guys is that some of the trends that we've seen in the years working with our clients in the way that they start what we call the analytics journey is that they typically kind of start with focusing mostly on reporting. So bringing in a BI application of sorts, really kind of focused on reporting, dashboarding, looking at the history of their business, looking at what trends are happening, how often are those trends happening, and then start to do some root cause analysis using that BI application. And the next step in that journey is typically when you start to focus on the current state of your business using a planning application. And that's really where the focus of today's discussion is going to be, right? So how do we plan for our business? How do we look at the current state of our business and start to look at the future outcomes, start to do some predictive analytics to look at kind of where our business is headed in the future. And the next step after that is where you start getting deeper into predictive, statistical analysis and work towards becoming an AI-driven organization. We may do a webinar on that third step at a later time, but for the purpose of today's conversation, we're really going to be focused on that middle section, the lighter blue bubbles, which is really planning for your business with a focus on the planning analytics application. So Brian, if you advance the next slide here, in terms of an agenda, what we have for you guys here, I'll do a quick introduction so you know who your presenters are, and I'll also talk about who PMsquare is and provide you guys some information on how, so you know how we can support you guys. Then we'll talk about Cognos Analytics and Planning Analytics. So as Cognos and Planning Analytics have kind of evolved over the years, and additional functionality capabilities have been added to both of these applications. There are some overlap in terms of kind of what you can do with both of these applications. So we'll talk about some of the similarities, differences, so that you know kind of where each of these products kind of fits. Then we'll talk about how PA can complement an existing BI solution. And then Brian will take over and talk about, show us an actual demo of Planning Analytics. And we'll wrap up at the end with some questions and talk about some of the upcoming events that we have for you guys in the coming months. So with that said, as far as introductions are concerned, my name is Kevin Emanuel. I'm the VP of Sales here at PMsquare. I'll be kind of moderating the webinar today, and I'm accompanied here with my colleague Brian Moore, who is our Planning Analytics Practice Lead, and Brian's going to be running majority of the presentation today for us. And then as far as introducing to you guys PMsquare and kind of who we are, PMsquare is a data and analytics consultancy. And so we provide consulting services in 4 distinct ways. First and foremost, project implementations. So if and when you decide to bring some of these technologies on board, we're here to help you guys implement those and do those in a way where you can maximize the value that you get out of these applications. So helping you build a roadmap, implement the applications, deploy them in a way that you see user adoption from these solutions. Secondly, we do offer managed analytics services. This is where some of our clients choose to offload some of the maintenance and the management of these applications to us. This can be across a single platform, single application, or across the entire spectrum of your data and analytics lifecycle. So starting from your data all the way to your analytics applications, we can kind of take on some of the maintenance of those for some of our clients. Staff augmentation. So in the event that you have some projects where you simply may not have enough resources, we do have the ability to offer you resources to to complete some of those initiatives. And then lastly, training and enablement, making sure that your users are trained. We do have a training facility, and we have the ability to deliver those in a variety of ways, both in person, remotely, virtual, as well as self-paced. So as far as what we do from a consulting perspective, those are the ways that we provide those services to our clients. As far as technology vendors are concerned, obviously we do a ton of work with IBM technologies, and obviously today's webinar is going to be mostly focused on IBM. But in addition to IBM, we do offer services for AWS, Trifacta, the entire Microsoft stack, Incorda, as well as Snowflake. And then as far as how we do things, is we really help our clients across the entire data and analytics lifecycle. So what that really means is we take what you have, which is your data, and this can be in a variety of different formats. It can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet or a flat file, or it can be a variety of applications, structured data, unstructured data, and we help you build a data pipeline where you can access that data regardless of where they reside. And then the ultimate goal is to deliver to the business what they need, which is, financial reporting, KPIs, interactive dashboards, really all of the things that your business needs to really understand the business, know exactly what's happening within the environment of the business. And all of that really comes together with our managed analytics services to make sure that entire process is as seamless as possible. So at a very high level, that's kind of what we do and how we do them. Now, the last thing I'll kind of mention here is we are a pretty well-decorated consultancy. So we have a number of different awards. If you advance one more time, Brian. We received a number of different awards from a variety of different technology vendors that we work with, especially IBM, for some of the good work that we've done. We do have a number of IBM champions on board. We have been listed on the Inc. 5000 list a couple of years in a row. So pretty proud of the fact that we've been able to produce a lot of success stories globally with a number of different clients over the years. So at a very high level, that's kind of who PMsquare is and what we do as an organization.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up from here. This is Brian Moore, Planning Analytics Practice Lead for PMsquare. And thank you for joining us, everyone. And we're going to go ahead and get things started here with a poll. Go ahead and launch that. And Kevin or anybody else, let me know if you can see it okay.
Yep, I can see it.
Excellent. Yeah, we did invite current business intelligence users and customers, regardless of platform, to show you how planning analytics can augment your BI solution. So we're going to go ahead and see which platforms everybody's on and compare some results and maybe incorporate that into the rest of the presentation. Like we have a third of you voted. I'll give it a few more seconds. All right, about 3/4 so far, so we'll close the poll shortly. Last chance. Trickling in. All right, we'll close it. Looks like we have predominantly Cognos Analytics. Everybody can see that. You don't need to share that. So yeah, 88% Cognos Analytics. A few Power BI folks, Tableau, some others, and some none as well. So predominantly Cognos Analytics, which is primarily who we blasted this out to, but thanks everyone else for joining us as well. And yeah, you'll enjoy how you can incorporate planning analytics into any BI solution. So, jogging forward here, and let me double check we're on the overview slide. So for a historical overview, we'll go ahead and walk through Cognos Analytics and Planning Analytics and how they came to be IBM property. So I'm sure most of you know as Cognos Analytics customers that CA is a business intelligence tool with real-time data analytics. It's very powerful for organizations to have excellent real-time BI so that you can tell when that container ship gets jammed in the Suez Canal. You know exactly how long you're going to be out of inventory and how it's going to affect your April financials. So you get real-time feedback based on events that occur instead of just watching it trickle down to the P&L weeks later. It's an original cornerstone product of the Cognos Corporation going back 40 years. IBM acquired Cognos in 2007, and they rebranded the product to Cognos Analytics in 2016. Over on the planning analytics side, Cognos Corporation wanted a good planning and forecasting solution to augment their BI tool. And so they sought out a company called Applix, going back about 40-year-old technology, and that provides a multidimensional modeling tool for OLAP cubes. You can think of it as Transformer on steroids if you're familiar with that CA product. So Applix joined Cognos in 2007, renamed as TM1. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the TM1 technology. It's run by some of the world's biggest businesses. And then likewise with CA, they rebranded as Planning Analytics in 2016. And that added several new interfaces, as well as a SaaS offering to offer on IBM's private cloud. So to keep up with trends of the day, they evolved the product, but that back end is still that TM1 core technology that goes back 40 years. And then bottom in the middle here, we have CA and PA continue to grow together in look and feel. So each new release, they look more like twins. You see the logos or the toolbars here at the top are almost identical, just a little different icon, but they're both following that carbon template from IBM. And you know, they are packaged well together and continue to complement each other and provide synergy. Similarities. We have, starting on the left, reporting capabilities. They're both excellent at reporting actuals, so actual data from data sources. So they both give you feedback on how the organization is doing from a historical perspective and current perspective. They both come through a web portal, so you have CA dashboards as well as Planning Analytics Workspace that are offered through a browser with zero software footprint. So it allows you to update the software without end users having to do any install or upgrading. So it's nice to have that browser-based experience. Dashboards and visualizations, they're both very strong in that suite. Workspace as came along in the last 4 years and added a lot more visualizations to the TM1 technology. So really helps with self-service dashboarding that other vendors were offering. So it complements the planning technology nicely. As of recently, they're both infused with Watson AI. So PA added that Watson AI capability, which gives you natural language recognition and gives you assistance with navigational insights of how to perform your plans and do your analysis based on just natural language that you enter into the toolbar. And lastly, they're both offered SaaS and local install. So you can do a traditional local install on your servers locally, or you can adopt the IBM's private cloud. Several new vendors that have only been around 5-10 years are SaaS only, so it's nice to have that option should you choose to keep it local. As far as the differences, Cognos Analytics does real-time business intelligence, so it links to data sources and gives you a live look into those data sources, whereas Planning Analytics actually uploads data from its sources and stores the data in a proprietary data repository. So it's a little bit different in that regard, but you can set up PA to sync that data in a very up to the moment fashion if you need to refresh every hour or every half hour. The data loads are incremental, so they're very quick, and you can keep that relatively in sync with your data source. You have pixel perfect reporting in CA. That is different from PA in that you're able to do report bursting, pagination of your report pages, table of contents, automated scheduling, and a lot better visualization options, flexibility with colors, styles, fonts, charts, graphs. So a lot more flexibility to adapt to a customer's current report book and be pixel perfect to that existing book if needed. You also have the ability to customize with JavaScript, CSS, and HTML So you can really get some customizations in there that might be a little more limited in PA. And lastly, CA dashboards have a better comprehensive set of visualizations, and also choose an optimized visualization choice automatically based on the data set you throw at it. So that's a nice feature as well. Over on the PA side, we have the multi-dimensional modeling. So instead of a relational database approach, you're getting instead of just rows and then fields from a two-dimensional perspective, you're getting multi-dimensional. So you can go from anywhere from 5, 10, 20 dimensions and have a lot better flexibility from a cube perspective instead of just an X and Y perspective. So very powerful in slice and dice capabilities there. Of course, you have write back capabilities, which facilitate a planning and budgeting process that you can't do in CA. And that allows you to go to all corners of the organization and have those folks log into the PAW web browser, contribute their data, take part in the planning process. So you have absolutely the best granularity possible because you're inviting folks from outside the Office of Finance to participate and write back their plans to a common repository. And lastly, a fully integrated Excel add-in. So different from CA and other solutions, you do have Excel add-in with formulas that read and write back to a common data repository. So we don't just dump reports into Excel and then use them offline. We can actually have Excel linking back real time to the data repository for customers that are really comfortable in Excel and prefer not to adopt a new interface. Kevin, any questions so far?
No questions so far. We can continue. Yep.
All right. Yeah, folks, feel free to type in some questions and we'll answer them as they come in. Last, how can PA complement a BI solution? So if you're currently using BI and haven't gone into a complex planning solution and are just using Excel spreadsheets like the majority of people have in the past and current, PA can give you an integrated planning and reporting experience. So by using technology, by using data stores, you're not worried about error-prone data sets, and you have seamless transition of the data and transfer back and forth. A single source of the truth, so you're not worried about these disparate data sources or passing spreadsheets back and forth. So nice to be integrated, and also it allows greater plan accuracy because a BI solution oftentimes has users in the lines of business, in manufacturing and operations and in sales. And so by giving them a planning tool to pair with that BI solution, then they are likely to participate in the plan and give you much greater detail in those plans instead of just having the Office of Finance generate those numbers. Lower left, we have predictive forecasting, which came along in the last year. And so in Planning Analytics, we have a predictive forecasting algorithm baked into the tool. You can use a wizard and generate predictive forecasts based on your actuals. If you're storing a year or two worth of actuals, you can use that algorithm to do a time series forecast, including seasonality, and generate a numeric statistical based forecast instead of just taking, say, last year's actuals times 3%. So it's going to be a lot more accurate because it's actually going into each time period, identifying the seasonality and different factors there. And you don't need to use a third-party tool like we have in the past, or invite a data scientist into the process to create that module for you. So it's fully included with the PA tool now. Gives you a great baseline starting point to begin your planning process, and then possibly augment from there based on external factors you might be aware of. In the upper right, we have multi-dimensional analysis. And so we have the OLAP cubes that you're able to slice and dice, have a multi-dimensional outlook on things, handles massive data cubes. I'm going to pull out the calculator here for a second, and there's another little web link I'll throw on the page, one of the success stories. Ancestry.com has 51 quintillion reasons for choosing IBM for FP&A, and that refers to planning analytics. So how do we get to 51 quintillion, and what's this dimension thing all about? From what I hear, the transformer cubes top out at 2 gigabytes, which can be relatively limiting when we think about a data set. So let's take 1,000 accounts and say we have 500 departments. If we have 5 years of data, we might have about 150 time periods. We might want to save off 10 versions, so forecast, budget, actuals, as well as forecasts, projections for each month. Maybe we have 500 customers and we have 1,000 products, and suddenly we get into very large numbers, right? So that gives you the idea of what we're talking about with massive data cubes, massive amounts of intersections, and capability to model a very flexible data cube with a lot of detail and granularity and slice and dice analysis capabilities. Now, how do we store such a huge number as we take advantage of a concept called sparsity? There isn't 375 quintillion or quadrillion intersections being saved. Only the cells that hold data are what get recorded. And so even though we can model out a massive cube, there might only be 500,000 intersections in this giant cube that store data. So that flexibility called sparsity allows us to model very large data sets, whereas competing vendors might just have to design around a limited architecture, say, oh, you can only have 4 dimensions because we can only go up to 10 gigabytes. So not an issue with planning analytics. Alternate hierarchies are the ability to build not only a standard hierarchy, which is a huge benefit in PA over CA, but the ability to build alternates as well. So I like to think of the products dimension. In our sample system, we have a consumer electronics company. So the standard organization of the products dimension might be that you'd put TV models into a TV category, which rolls up into a entertainment bucket and then rolls up to the total. Well, you could also roll up those product models by brand. And so you could have an alternate hierarchy that would have Sony and Samsung and LP or LG. And you could also roll those up by color, maybe, or by price points. And so you'd have several alternate hierarchies to be able to provide really detailed analysis on which products are performing the best. So that's a huge feature that can complement your BI solution in PA. And lastly, both products offer drill through to the data sources. So if you detect any anomalies or strange numbers that you need to take a closer look at, you can drill directly into that data source and see the transaction that posted that caused that outlier. In the lower right, we have consolidated financial reporting. And so totally away from the planning process, PA actually does excellent reporting and is often utilized in that fashion. So we're able to merge several different data sources, unlimited number of data sources. So if you have one entity that's in Oracle and one that's in SAP, and then a new entity that just uses Excel spreadsheets for their source data, you can incorporate all 3 and then have PA perform your monthly consolidation. If you're an international entity, you can do currency translations, so you have the ability to report or collect the data in local and then multiply it by its particular monthly translation rate, and then report the numbers in your reporting currency, usually USD. And the same applies to the planning process, how you'd be able, all the international entities would be able to plan in local currency and then translate within the system so that the finance team can report apples to apples in USD. Intercompany eliminations, also a big plus, where if you have a huge entity that might transact with each other, as in like a inventory sale between entity A and entity B, you need to eliminate that transaction so that it's not double counting. So PA can help you there, as well as adjustment entries for the consolidation and allow you to be the single source of the truth for your global consolidation. All right, that covers the slides. About 35 minutes left here for product demo. So we'll go ahead and throw some PA on the screen. And any questions, Kevin, while I transition here?
Yep, I've got one question that came in related to data, Brian. Question is, how is PA data stored? Is it SQL-based or does it require a data warehouse?
That's a good question. Yeah, it actually could be either or. We could use a data warehouse if one is available, but we aren't required to build one. So perfectly fine just uploading from different data sources, like the example I mentioned, of having an Oracle and an SAP data source, and then storing that data in proprietary PA files or cube files. So it does actually upload that data and stores into proprietary files, and that allows for the data to be uploaded into RAM, which is one of the strong suits of PA. So it stores the data, uploads into RAM for end users to be able to rapidly access that data. So either data warehouse if one is available, or just pulling the data sources is fine as well. Thank you for the question. Okay, so here we have PA on the screen, the home page. And for you CA users out there, it might look pretty familiar with the toolbars. It's designed to look that way. And much like CA, we can jump into a blank canvas here and design the solution from there. Prop out our data sources from the left-hand side, use our fictitious smart data. And we see all our content is stored in the cubes, aforementioned cubes. So several different cubes have been built in here, and we could drag that out onto the canvas. You right click and add a new view on the income statement. So somewhat similar there, and then we can tweak the view over to a visualization if we so choose. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and jump into a much more customized demo. It's already been prepared. And so here we've taken that canvas and we go ahead and let's get back to the front here. Kind of take a PowerPoint perspective of designing the slide with a flow chart to kind of provide a better user experience as to where they are in a planning process. So first things first, I like to jump into a dashboard. If I'm a planning user, I want to take a look at the past operations from a visualization perspective, kind of get a sense of what the numbers looked like last year, what the trends in place were, and how I'm going to perform my plan. So here, highlighting some of the visualizations in PA that I'm sure you've seen in your BI solution, whether that's CA or Power BI. And we have waterfall capabilities, column charts, column plus trend line for your gross margin, and just a standard line chart, your depreciation. So we kind of get a sense of what the actuals were for 2020 before we kick off our 2021 budget. Jump back to the main menu. And in the middle here, we're going to highlight how we mentioned the different data sources and PA being a great tool to merge that data for a consolidated view of the organization's data. So I could click off a process to upload the monthly Oracle data. Likewise, upload my monthly workday data, and generally schedule this overnight, but depending on the size of data, they can refresh as fast as seconds. So if you needed to update your actuals data from your data source, from your ERP system, it is possible to do that throughout the day, but it is not real time, like we mentioned. Another great feature is the ability to just merge in data sets from, say, Excel. Maybe you have a new entity that's much smaller, doesn't have the ERP system. You can just get their flat files and CSVs and upload those so that you have those to report along with the rest of your data. We'll jump into a GL load cube and do kind of a spot check of a P&L for that data that we've loaded. And so I try to identify any outliers there and explore those if needed, but data looks okay. So from there, we get into the planning process, which are my buttons across the top. Standard planning that we do within PA, a lot of customers have is sales or revenue forecasting. They do OpEx planning, workforce planning down to the employee level, and CapEx planning for large expenditures to calculate depreciation costs. We are able to customize and develop further modules beyond that. So whatever you can dream up, we can model in PA. and you're not charged by what you build. So the licensing is such that you purchase the technology, and then whatever you and the consultant team can put together is yours to keep. So, extremely flexible tool here. Hopping into the revenue forecast, here we have the tabular data on top of my 2020 budget, and then at the bottom a visualization called a Marimekko, which I think is available in CA and other tools as well. And from there, I want to highlight the capability to do predictive forecasting. This is the new technology from about a year ago within PA. And so if I check out 2021's budget, it should be blank. When I click the little brain icon here, which I customize as a little widget, and that pops open a new view for us. And if I scroll out to the right, I see I have 19 and 20 data, but nothing for 2021. Let's drill down into Massachusetts region. And based on my 24 months of historical actuals, I can use that to generate a predictive forecast based on IBM's algorithms. Just by highlighting product total, I kick off the forecast widget, center field up top. That brings out the wizard. All I have to do is tell it what I want it to forecast, which is the next 12 months for 2021. Kick off a preview, let it think for a few seconds, and then we can see that it comes up with a predictive trend based on those historicals. And so for some reason, we go January through December and really start to sell well at the end of the year, but then drop back down the following year. And so we see that trend play out 2 years in a row. And the algorithm is smart to know that that's what's going to happen in 2021, and then gives you a prediction as well as an envelope of possible ranges. And for the data scientists in the house, you can give them all the specific statisticals around that. Also note that this prediction accuracy is pretty strong, so our historical data does have a strong correlation. So this can be particularly useful because we do have that correlation, and it gives us better capability to trust that prediction. Unfortunately, with 2020 what it was, I'm not sure how useful predictive forecasts are going to be, or if 2020 data just needs to be discarded. But given typical business circumstances, this should be very powerful. All right, and if I wanted to actually save that data, click off the forecast button, and it would write that data back, and I'd have 2021 populated, and then I could come in manually and edit the data product by product, period by period if I needed to, if I was aware of some market factor that might impact my business and that didn't exist in the past and that the algorithm wouldn't know about. Any questions so far, Kevin? Take a drink here.
No other questions so far, Brian. You're clear.
Very good. Okay, next we'll hop forward to OpEx planning. My system's a little tied up at the moment. Let's cut over to OpEx.
Fine, I do have one question that actually came in.
Sure.
Question is, can you use the forecast to automatically populate a forecast version?
Yes. Yes, well, I'm going to show you a spread here that hopefully answers that question. We did have the predictive capability there to populate next year's forecast or budget based on historicals, but I have another method coming up here to spread the data based on previous year's data. So here we are in OpEx, and we're going to highlight capabilities to perform an OpEx plan in PA. It's very common that we start building a planning solution around OpEx, as that's one of the most common sets of expenses in a business. And so here we have Massachusetts budget data for 2020. And if I leap forward to 2021, I see I have payroll and I have depreciation already populated. Depreciation is for CapEx, large CapEx items, is projected well into the future, so that's already going to be completed for me. And payroll, of course, I'm copying over the roster, the current roster, and the current salaries and benefits information. So that's already populated for me. If I open up payroll, I do see some green cells. That tells me that there's calculations going on at the employee level. So those are already populated, and I'm not going to touch those from here. But for the rest of those, like office expense, all zeros so far. So what I can do is go to the full year total for office expense. Let's actually hop up to total company. So here we are at all regions and all office expenses. If I right click, I'm going to do a spread, and we'll do a relative proportional spread. And for the year, I'll choose 2020 data. And it's going to give me a reference value that last year I spent $450K on office expenses for the total company. So let's bump that up and say it's going to be $525K. And what it does very quickly and extremely powerfully is it breaks back that $525,000 based on the 2020 for every GL account and every region at a spread profile based on those 2020 numbers. So it's not just a divide by 12, divide by the number of accounts, but it actually breaks back into the individual cell for all the regions and accounts. That's a very strong starting point. I'm going to demonstrate hold capabilities. Let's say we have the 525,000. We know for a fact that our insurance bill has already been sent to us. Our invoice has already came in, and that's not going to change. So I have the ability to hold that $3,500. And then maybe the boss upstairs says, you know, we're spending too much. I really need to whittle that down back to 475. So for items we know, we can lock those in. For items that might be flexible, I'd have the ability to break back and lower at the top level and then go top down to be able to plan. So powerful feature there. Go ahead and release those holds. So very flexible in the way we plan, lots of different spread capabilities to do flexible planning and be able to complete your budgets for all your users across the organization. So a very flexible planning format. And of course, all the numbers are being written back to that common data store. All right, next we're going to go back to the main menu. And at the end of the line, we get to a financial summary. And it gives you a chance to review everything at the P&L once you've completed your plan. I do need to collapse this toolbar on the right side here. There we go. All right, and so a common report we're asked for from a PA perspective and a consolidated financial reporting of actuals. We have P&L coming down the rows, and then for periods we have current month, year to date, and a total year display. We're at the Massachusetts March level. I'll jump out to total company. And then I'll just quickly highlight the slice and dice capabilities and flexibility by showing the dimensions. And maybe I want to hone in on gross margin across the company. So all I have to do is drag gross margin up top, swap it with my total company region, and that gives me the gross margin data by all the individual regions. So I'm blank for 2021, so I can quickly toggle back to 2020 and see all of actuals for 2020. Hierarchies available in PA, so we can easily expand, contract, and quickly drill up and down throughout the data set. All right, we're going to jump over to Excel land for a moment here. So I'm going to collapse that and show you some Parfait.
While you're doing that, Brian, someone's asking me what version of PA you're showing here.
I believe you're up to date from a server perspective. I saw a version came out a couple days ago that we're not on. I think that was 207. So server should be 206. Rob, if you can chat what versions on our demo environment. And then from workspace perspective, we are on the latest, which I think is PAW 62. There was a lot of new features introduced at 57 and several new features since and version 60 as well. Thank you for the question, Magda. All right, so in Planning Analytics for Excel, we see it right in my Excel workbook. I have a toolbar, IBM Planning Analytics. From there, I can connect into my common data repository in PA. And we'll log in. And then I see a taskbar on the right, shows all my cubes available. And I can also go up into a folder of stored reports, which I'll do. And pull up a forecast report. It does its recalcs and its queries back into the common repository and pops out that data that's coming live from the common repository that everybody can see. And if I click on one of the data points, I see a big funky formula, and that shows you both its read and write back capabilities to that common data set. So it's not just flat Excel data. It's not disparate spreadsheets being emailed around and cobbled together. If a planner were in here in Excel punching in forecasts for out months, that would be read back to the common data store, and all members of the organization will be able to see that and see it at the consolidated level as well. So very powerful integration. That's all I got for Excel. And so last, we're gonna throw Cognos Analytics onto the screen and show you some things of the interconnection between the two. So let's go ahead and I can contract that and just show you that we got selected source where we have a connection over to the PA data. And so if I do demo assets, PA integration, I can see where we got that catalog income statement. And that therefore brings up my income statement, which is the same cube coming directly from PA. And I can click on default for years. I'll click on OpEx, and we will drag that onto the canvas. And I see that I have 2019, 2020, and 2021 data. If I flip back over to PAW or Workspace, I have that same cube already generated. And I see my operating expenses of 15 million, 4.5 million, and 3.3 million. 15 million, 4.5, and 3.3. We'll go ahead and spend a lot of money in 2021. So instead of the 3.3, I'll type in 10 million. Pump that number up. I'll go back over. And if I click on my 2021 cell, I see that was updated. Boom. So total seamless integration here between your BI solution and your planning solution. Also going to show you how you could use these data cubes to then build visualizations within CA. So you can use your PA data and build it right here in CA. And to do that, we'll go ahead and expand organization. And then I'll grab default department and a few different metrics here. Drag that out on the screen. And as we're used to in CA, it automatically picks the best visualization for you, hopefully. I'll stretch that out to fit the screen. Total company doesn't do me a lot of good, so I'll hide that. And now we have a nice report by region, which shows us net profit, gross margin, and OpEx. A very handy CA report and visualization using PA data right in the model. All right, the last thing I was going to show you is a little widget that we've built with the capabilities of having accessibility to workspace directly from CA. So we went ahead and had Cognos Paul build this in for us, a little paw footprint. And this came up on Ryan Dolly's recent live stream as to how we could possibly link directly from one tool to the other using a widget. And so that is available courtesy of Cognos Paul. If you need to ask us, I did have some technical specifics around that it is a custom widget using JavaScript to call a JSON file. So happy to share the files with you if you're interested in creating that interoperability. Clicking on the icon, fires that JSON file, opens up our PA, and we're able to work in workspace with single sign-on. No login required. And that wraps it up. Appreciate everybody for joining us today, and happy to field any questions. At this point, let me advance the slide. There's my contact info at the bottom. You can find me on LinkedIn or email me direct. Happy to answer any questions, as well as get you introduced to our sales reps if you'd like to talk about a solution of combining PA with your current solution.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. I did miss a couple of questions here at the very beginning from earlier. Shannon had asked, how does it automatically apply eliminations? I believe that's towards the beginning of the presentation where you were showing that.
Yeah, doing automated eliminations does require some development and having a good data source to be able to pull those eliminations from. But the capability to store those entries in Planning Analytics is there. So having the write back feature allows us to then write entries into the data alongside the actuals that come in through the data source. And then you can use PA as kind of the end of the line as far as your consolidation, so that you're able to make those elimination entries as well as any adjustments and journal entries needed. So just with write back, you're able to store those. If you do have, say, an Excel file that contains all of those elimination entries, which don't change month to month. So a lot of times, folks will have 50 elimination entries that need to be posted each month. We could automatically read in that file and post each month to automate the process. So great question, Shannon.
Excellent. And one last question for you, Brian. Would Cognos administrators be able to administer PA as well?
Yes, I think a Cognos administrator would be a good choice. Typically, administrators come from either the Office of Finance or the Office of IT. So kind of a mixture of both skill sets. There's light coding involved, and need to be able to update the dimensions from a finance perspective. Like if new accounts come in, you'd need to be able to monitor that those are coming in the right place and that the data is being loaded accurately. So it can be kind of a hybrid IT and finance person that makes a good administrator.
Excellent. Very well.
I wanted to present this briefly of just kind of a chart we put together that's on our website, highlighting the four main interfaces of CA and PA, and gives you kind of some perspective of what does what and which one, where the strengths and weaknesses are of each. So when combined together, hopefully handle all situations, all scenarios, and they package together nicely.
Excellent. One last question related to reporting, Brian. Are there canned reports already built? I'm assuming they mean within PA.
Yeah, that's a good question. We do bring blueprints into any implementation. So the PMsquare team can give you the canned reports like basic balance sheet and income statement, but the tool itself doesn't have anything out of the box, because it is can be a more customized solution. We try to bring in blueprints if it's a quicker, smaller install, but the advantage is that you're able to custom tailor to any customer and customize those reports exactly to your needs. So it's not a out of the box approach. It's not a one size fits all. It's much more tailored to your organization.
Right. Very good.
Right.
That's all the questions that we have. So before we wrap up, just wanted to, again, thanks everybody for joining, and to remind you of some of the events that we have coming up over the next few months. On May 4th, our very own Ryan Dolly will be presenting a live stream along with Chris McPherson from IBM on unveiling the Cognos Analytics roadmap. So it should be a very colorful conversation. I encourage all of you guys to join that. May 11th, IBM Think 2021 is taking place. Again, this year it's going to be a virtual event. May 20th, we have another live stream for Cognos Analytics on AWS. So we'll be talking about kind of some of the best practices, things to look for, when you're making that migration. And then last but not least, for those of you who like to plan ahead, August 25th and 26th is going to be our next Bacon event. Again, this year we're going to make that a virtual event. Had a lot of success last year, had a lot of really good feedback from the content that was presented. So again, I encourage all of you guys to keep those dates on your calendars and make sure you attend, especially Bacon on August 25th and 26th.
I don't know about you, Kevin. I always look forward to Bacon.
That's right. Everybody does, right?
Exactly.
All right. It looks like we've got a few minutes here left. There are no additional questions, so we can go ahead and wrap up. Again, thank you all for joining. If you do have any additional questions that come up later on, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to follow up with you guys. Thanks again. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.